Thank you. Are there any other nominations? No? Can I see a show of hands, all those in favour? Okay. Well done and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, members, for putting your trust in me again. So I, Lee Baker, having been elected to the office of the Vice Chair of Somerset Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I will now sign the declaration. Thank you, members.
Okay, moving on to our agenda item 3 is apologies for absence. Scott.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from councillors Caswell, Martin, Nicholson, Andy Sully, Jenny Snell, councillors Hendry, Stoughton, Redman, Rigby, Nicola Clark, councillors Hewitson, Tessa Munt, Harry Munt, councillors Boyden, Patrick and Kendall. And we've also had apologies that the following councillors will be late to this meeting, but still hope to join, and that is councillors Smith Roberts, O'Donnell and Dance.
Yes, Diego.
Also, Chair, Councillor Jula will be arriving late, and a couple of apologies from Councillor Andy Hadley and Councillor Rosemary Woods and Philip Ham.
Thank you. Was there any further apologies? No? Okay, thanks for that. Moving on to agenda item 4, which is to confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the full council meeting on the 4th of March 2026. And if agreed, I will sign them as a true record. Yes, Diego.
Chair, a couple of amendments which I would like to put forward, please. Go to the right page. So page 18 of the report, where it says Councillor Rodriguez proposed an amendment to the budget, which was seconded by Councillor Lucy Trimnall. We would like an additional element to that, which says, however, Councillor Trimnall was not able to speak in the debate. The next amendment is where it says on the same page, the section 151 officer advised that he could not give his statutory support required for the amendment. We would like added because there was no sufficient time available to do the required piece of work. The third bit is where it says during the discussion the following points were raised. We would like, comma, although a number of members indicated to speak but were not given the opportunity. And then the following points were raised. And the fourth and final one, where it says those voting for the amendment, there is a member missing from that vote, which was Councillor Tony Grimes. Those are the 4 amendments we'd like to make to those minutes, Chair.
Okay, Scott, have you? Okay. Are there any further amendments? Okay, with the additions of Diogo's adjustments, can I have a show of hands, all those in favour of adoption?
Sorry, can I confirm the one referring to the section 151 officer? Can I check whether the 151 officer that he's happy with that amendment, please?
Okay.
I am content.
Okay. Right. I think, can I have a show of hands again? All those in favour? Any against? Okay, that's passed. Item 5 was declarations of interest. Kehinde, if I could come to you.
Chair, I'm not aware of any declaration of interest.
Has anyone here got any interest that they wish to add? No. Okay, moving on to item 6, which is public question time. I've already been advised that 2 of our questioners today are not able to attend, and that's Nick Cork and Brian O'Leary. Those 2 members will be sent written answers, full written answers from it. So I'd like to move on to Kirsten Guest. Kristen Guest, sorry, not Kirsten. Kristen here? Or online? No? Okay. That looks like another question will be given a full written answer. Daryl Selleck. Thank you. Okay, you have 3 minutes. Can I just say that all the councillors have a copy of your questions? So if you utilise your 3 minutes.
Thank you. So the Chard Eastern Relief Road, mooted back in 1986 local plan, included an Oaklands Road section that was to be the development boundary. The current plan adopted 2015 includes road sections to be linked to redivert the A358 from North Chard to the A30 and onto Axminster. Housing applications have given no real input at planning stages on the overall road scheme, and until recently planners and councillors have avoided responding on the route in view of its sensitive nature, with information requests being met with fob-offs and delays and no firm response provided. The common link in town centre, I was told, was 40% over intended traffic volume, but I'm now advised only 8% over, and thus not the urgent issue highlighted. 2 housing developments are now built outside the boundary, with 2 more approved, all containing road sections. Once joined, it will divert large volumes of heavy traffic through residential housing, which was not the original plan. Section 106 money has funded road sections, and Somerset Council owns most of the land for the final section, possibly to be funded from SIL money, to enable delivery of the plan. But after 40 years of change, this is now a most unsuitable route. Worryingly, this would involve building directly into Chard Nature Reserve, an outstanding area of wildlife and public recreation, straight through Transact 3, which is rich in orchids, slow worms and butterflies and so on. It would require significant tree removal and transit through boggy areas. Noise pollution to wildlife and visitors would be highly detrimental. My outstanding freedom of information requests are 2 months over normal response times, but my inquiries so far reveal the following. No assessment made public in the last 40 years on the current Eastern Relief Road suitability and impacts. No report considering alternative routes, and the current local plan formulation does not consider any, nor consult with the public at this stage. No recent relevant traffic flow data produced into Chard from North A358 to assess diverting traffic volume. Despite the reluctance to share information, I have ascertained the following facts. There is some traffic data, but sampled during COVID lockdown are not representative. A WSP flooding report was provided with key information redacted despite flooding around Chard. Internal highways report for Chard and an internal officers report on the Eastern Relief Road were produced in the last 4 years, but no one at council was willing to share the full unredacted report as it contains reasons not to build the road. Planning decisions are being based on these reports. The route is now unsuitable. Please save our reservoir and our residents from permanent serious detriment. My 2 questions. Please confirm you will now be open and honest and make public the unredacted internal highways report for Chard and the unredacted internal officers report on the Eastern Relief Road by the 15th of June 2026 and confirm where they can be found. When will you produce the following? An independent report on alternative Eastern Relief Road routes and possible ring road routes, a full Eastern Relief Road environmental and suitability assessment, accurate up-to-date traffic flow data, and urgently hold a full public consultation meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I can confirm that the reports relating to the Chard Eastern Relief Road are currently under review and are being updated. Once this work is complete, the council will look to make it available on our website by the late summer. And second part, given what I've said in the above, and the need for transparency, the council felt it would be prudent to update the reports first so that they reflected the current position rather than publish a report which is out of date. We want to avoid publishing misleading or inaccurate information. We will make it clear that elements have been updated and make it clear what elements have been updated, and the original reports will of course be available on request if anybody is interested in seeing them once we have published an accurate and up-to-date position. In the meantime, I have been assured that no planning decisions have been based on an out-of-date report.
Thank you. Grace Thomas, please, our next speaker. And is Grace here? Okay, so moving on to Nick Hall. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Nick Hall, and I'm making this statement on behalf of Glastonbury Trainlink Trust. Trust has been set up to promote a fast, direct and reliable bus service between Glastonbury and Castle Cary train station. We were initially encouraged by Somerset Council's commitment to commence a trial bus service by the end of June, bringing funding to our part of the county. However, it is now clear that you, the council, have chosen to fund your preferred route. This route winds through Street, past Butley Post Office and on to Kyneton Mandeville. The service is also augmented with the Somerton Slinky bus to provide services to Somerton and Langport. Somerset Council is going ahead without our involvement. So you, the council, have chosen to focus on the needs of Street, Somerton and Langport, ignoring the evidence that we have collected. You argue that it will serve a greater number of people, but apparently without any market research. This choice, your choice as a council, does not provide Glastonbury with a fast, direct and reliable train link to support the visitor economy as well as the local needs. It's not Glastonbury Train Link. This council has a vision for community engagement and behaviour change, so we are baffled that you only started to engage with us on the 24th of April. We have been engaging with our communities and businesses for months, if not years, collecting evidence and raising funds. Why undermine the community's work when you could have supported it? Some community leaders do recognise and value this engagement. Does Somerset Council? So meanwhile, communities and businesses along our proposed route through Pilton, Canards Grave and Bath and West Showground are crying out for this service. The Trust intends to continue to promote this route from Glastonbury and request that Somerset Council assists us with technical support, grant applications and perhaps, dare I say, some nominal funding. So Glastonbury, arguably Somerset's most important tourist centre, is still waiting for the innovative and ambitious train link service that it and Somerset needs. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Richard.
Thank you. We recognise the desire for a transport link from Glastonbury to Castle Cary railway station, and that is why we are providing this new service. It is important to stress that we need to provide best value for the available funding we have, and therefore it's not possible to cover all the request calling points. We have looked closely at the train link proposals. Our primary concern is that the proposed route has significant limitations in terms of potential users. To ensure that the trial service has the best chance of success, and to achieve this, we believe the service needs to operate via Street to attract visitors from Clark's Village and Glastonbury, and to widen the catchment area by providing a peak commuter journey to and from Somerton and Langport and Somerton area to the Castle Kerry railway station using our Somerton digital Slinky bus service. In addition to this, during the day, local residents in Langport and Somerton area will also be able to book journeys on the digital Slinky service to connect with the new bus service at Kenton Mandeville for onward travel to and from Castle Kerry railway station. We have listened to the request and have delivered what we believe is the best possible solution whilst balancing the needs to attract as many passengers as possible by widening the catchment area and gaining support from both Clark's Village and Great Western Railway to help promote the services. And I'd just like to add that it is really important. This is a trial and we need to get passengers on this service to ensure that it is a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I've just checked online and the other speakers are not here. So like I've said, they will receive fully written answers as well as those that have attended. Okay, so if we move on to agenda item 7, which is Chair's announcements. Again, it's with great sadness that we mark the death of Nick Colbert, who's a former South Somerset District Councillor for Wincanton, who died on the 27th of April 2026. Nick served the people of Wincanton with energy, conviction and unwavering commitment to his town. First elected to South Somerset District Council in 2011 and again most recently in 2019. He worked tirelessly to ensure that Wincanton's voice was heard and respected within the wider district. Nick also played a prominent role in debates about the regeneration of Wincanton Town Centre, arguing passionately that investment should deliver lasting benefits for residents rather than short-term priorities. His contributions reflected both his detailed understanding of local issues and his determination to stand up for the town he represented. Our thoughts are with his friends and his family at this time. And could you join me in standing for a moment of silence? Thank you, members. Thank you. The flags on our buildings today are flown at half-mast, and also they will be again on the day of his funeral. Right, I'd like to pass over now with members of the council that would like to say some words, starting with Martin Whale.
Thank you, Chairman, for calling me to speak. Too loudly, obviously. The current calm must be an unusual experience for you as chairman, because in your previous role, chairman of SSDC, when you called on Nick Colbert to speak, it was usually met with groans and worse from certain members of the benches opposite. Those unruly members didn't realise that they were merely adding to Nick's determination to say even more forcefully what he felt had to be said. His remarks, and indeed the many inquiries he made during his time as a councillor, were direct, incisive, combative, but always in the interests of the people he represented. Neither the late Mike Lewis or myself, as a Conservative group leader, would say that Nick was a perfect group member. He couldn't stand the idea of blindly sticking his hand up when he didn't agree with some decision, particularly if he felt that it would disadvantage the people of Wincanton. and he was strong enough not to comply. But that was Nick. He was strongly patriotic, very stubborn, and fully committed to be the voice of the people who elected him. He was, of course, equally committed to his family and fought a rare form of cancer for over 2 years with the same determination he showed as his time as a councillor. He didn't seek popularity or compromise, but he could not be ignored or shouted down, and did what he thought was right for Wincanton. So thank you, Nick, for your service. Many saw you as a pain in the butt, but it may well be a quieter place without you. But we need more like you to question and hold public services to account. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Martin. And I can endorse that Nick was a character. Tom Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Nick Colbert, where do I start? Nick wasn't just a council colleague, he was a great friend to me, and was someone who I could always pick up the phone and call if I had any questions or just wanted to put the world to rights. When I was younger, Nick was the chap that I just knew that sold houses around the town in our local area. So when I had an interest in politics, I knew Nick as my district councillor alongside Colin Winder. When I joined the town council at 18, I started to get to know and work alongside Nick and see how passionately he worked for the town. And this was the start of a great friendship. When I said to Nick, I was thinking of standing for county in 2021, he was a brilliant supporter and helped me to get to where I am today. I certainly have had big shoes to fill. Outside of politics, me and Nick enjoyed a few drinks, especially at the Rock and Ribs Festival in Wincanton, where Nick would show everyone, and he was really proud to show everyone his motorbikes and his interesting cars that came from America. I also invited Nick to our Jubilee street party with Janet, and the whole road, our whole road was just full of laughs because Nick had so many stories to tell. My phone is much quieter at the moment, and that was the fact that Nick is not sending me any more WhatsApp messages to make us all laugh. And what I will say is the Wincanton community has certainly lost a legend. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy.
Thank you. So it's not going to be a surprise to you that I didn't go to the Rock and Ribs Festival drinking with Nick, because it's not my kind of thing. However, he was great fun. So I don't normally speak about people when they've passed because I find it too hard. I'm quite a sentimental person. I find it really difficult. But Nick was incredibly strong, and my experience of working with him and his mentorship of me makes me know that he would have said, "Don't be so stupid. Don't be so stupid, you can say something." So I am going to. So the first things to say about Nick was some of the things that he really cared about. So he was passionate about protecting grade 1 agricultural land for food. And this was long before we got to the situation now where our land is becoming more and more at risk. Anything Wincanton, if it had Wincanton in the name, he was there to support it, to promote it. The Wincanton Regeneration Programme being one of those things where he didn't just say, well, we need regeneration, we need some good ideas in Wincanton. He said, I've got the ideas, let me tell you what we can do. He came up with a plan, he came up with a scheme, and sadly the money was withdrawn and it didn't happen. You will continue to fight for that, provided, obviously. So anyway, free parking in Wincanton is largely down to Nick, who pushed for this as something that he recognised would be beneficial to the town. He would help anyone and everyone. He was adopted, and as a result of that, family was really important to him, including supporting families, single parent families, all of those types of people who otherwise might sometimes feel overlooked. He just cared about people. And I think that's a side of Nick that maybe we don't always get, because if you didn't know him, the overwhelming thing is his strength and the fact that he would say what he thought regardless of whether he was supposed to say it or not. But but a couple of memories of him for me. When I was elected, I was given the wrong time to turn up for the count. So this is the first election, given the wrong time. I arrive, I see a big sign saying Bruton and figure that's where I'm meant to be. And over I went, and this lovely white-haired man said, "Are you Lucy? Come over here, we're just doing a recount." And you can imagine, like, the lady before me who held the seat had won by 500 votes. So a recount was a bit of a shock to me. And anyway, I scraped through with 8 votes. So that was fortunate. And he helped me through the whole of the rest of the day. We had the group meeting, etc. And he said, "How are you getting home?" And I said, "Well, I've got my car. You know, do you want a lift?" And by the time we got back to Wincanton, I knew everything about the council. I knew every single thing because he was so passionate. That was his thing, right? These are the things you need to know. These are the things that you need to care about. Another issue that he really helped me with was the Enterprise Centre in Bruton. And it came to us, it had been approved with conditions, and it came to us for a couple of changes. And I noticed that the timber frame had been taken, or the timber cladding. And in the meeting, it was on Zoom, it was COVID. I was still fairly new as a councillor and not massively experienced. And I said, "I just want to ask about the timber cladding." And they went, "Oh, no, we can't talk about that, unfortunately, because it's not actually listed to talk about." And he went, "Wait a minute, why can't you talk about it? It was there before, it's been removed now." And his intervention was what meant that we have timber cladding on that building now. And we don't have to have our Enterprise Centre looking the same as the ones in Wells and Wiveliscombe, which I'm sure are very lovely, but weren't in tune with what Bruton needed. So I just want to thank Nick because he showed a strength that today I've been able to find, and I will continue to try and find. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, moving on. Next, can I welcome our new councillor who joins us for his first meeting today, Sam Fripp. Congratulations on joining us. Thank you. The final thing is the record of the visits that myself and the Vice Chairman plus other civic events are on pages 31 to 33 in the agenda. If anybody wants any details, if they ask myself or Lee afterwards, we can share the information. Thank you. So moving on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the council plan vision and associated priorities refresh 2026. I'll now hand over to the leader.
Thank you, Chair. And this report asks full council to consider and adopt the new Somerset Council vision together with its associated missions and principles. This is about ensuring the council has a clear, shared and up-to-date sense of purpose, one that reflects both the reality of where we are now as a unitary authority and the future we are trying to shape for Somerset's residents and communities. Our existing vision and priorities were developed before vesting day, at a time when the council's primary focus was bringing together 5 disparate organisations into one. That work was necessary and important, but the context has significantly changed since then. We now face different and more acute pressures, including ongoing financial challenges, increased demand on services, and the need to transform how we work. Feedback from members, officers, external partners, including the Corporate Peer Challenge and audit findings, have been clear that we need a more compelling vision to guide our decision-making, prioritisation and culture, and to support our decision-making. This refreshed vision responds directly to that feedback. It has been developed with a strong focus on culture and on how we can work as one council, aligned with the Inspiring Innovation programme and our broader transformation journey. Colleagues from across the organisation have been involved throughout, helping to ensure the vision is grounded in what matters most to residents and communities, and that is something people can recognise themselves in and actively use to guide their work. The refreshed vision, a fairer, better future, is supported by 3 clear missions which set out what the council will prioritise in order to achieve that ambition. Opportunity: make Somerset a place where everyone can thrive and succeed. Connection: help people and communities to stay connected. Homes: support people to live in safe, healthy homes that meet their needs. and it's underpinned by a set of organisational principles that will guide how the council works and delivers services. These include prevention comes first. It guides everything we do. We listen and work together in our communities. When we say we'll do something, we do it well. And climate change resilience is part of how we plan and deliver. The vision will be reinforced by a new corporate plan, which is currently being developed concurrently with this work, and will provide detail on how we deliver and monitor our progress. It is anticipated that this will be finalised over the coming months. I would particularly like to thank the Corporate and Resources Scrutiny Committee for their detailed consideration of the Council vision, for their constructive feedback provided, and that feedback was reviewed at Executive in May and has directly shaped what has been presented to you today. I commend us to support the Council vision. Thank you.
Thank you. As per the schedule, I invite any questions from councillors. We'll talk a second. Oh, sorry, the seconder. Benty, I have you on the list to second this. Is that? You're looking puzzled. Okay, if not, Liz, I'll go to Liz.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very, very willing to second. I will reserve my right to speak, if I may, please.
Okay. Yes, Diogo, and then Dave. Yes, yeah.
Sorry, you're looking behind me. Sorry, Joe. Just to say, yeah, great vision. I would probably say a year before the next election, it probably reads more like a manifesto or working towards a manifesto and priorities, which fair enough, the leading group are the leading group after all. Just a couple of points that I will raise is we know this is being brought forward because the vision is kind of not in line with what it should have been, and we've had vesting day and everything else. It's 3 years since we've had this new council, 3 years to develop a new vision, which probably speaks to the ability of the authority to work at pace. 3 years later, we've got a new vision for a new authority. And also, just one point which I found interesting, which the leader mentioned, is he said, when we say we'll do something, we'll do it well, which I'm sure is written within the document, which is really positive. But I'm just really surprised that it has to be written in a vision. It should be a basic expectation and not something to expect people to do something well and having to put it in a vision for people to learn and understand. However, you know, this is your vision. You are the leading group, and of course, you have our support to deliver your vision, as you have been democratically elected to do so.
Thank you. I'd now, if this is questions rather than the debate, because we have to go to Dave Mansell, who is going to propose an amendment. So at the moment, we're taking questions. Yes.
I think this is a question. So it's only got a question mark at the end of it. On page 36, in the reason for proposals, it refers to the feedback from Corporate Peer Challenge and the auditors and external parties. I'd just like to know, before I decide where to raise my hand on this, how confident the leader and the executive are that this vision will meet those needs from the challenge, and what we can expect to see in 3, 6, 9, 12 months to know that it is working. You know, what is it that you're looking to see so that you're confident, one, that these reasons are being met, and two, that we're going in the right direction? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Purbrick. I'm very confident that our Corporate Peer Challenge partners and our auditors will recognise the request for a clearer vision that's come through this. It has gone through that series of consultation with our staff, as well as our members, as well as scrutiny, to be able to reach this point. What I think we will see next is that being seen within the corporate plan, which will be the delivery of that vision, and we now need to absolutely get on a pace and deliver that. We have been held back by the financial situation that we have inherited, found ourselves in, whichever way you wish to phrase it. But now is the time, now we're in financial recovery, to be able to start delivering on our values, on our missions and our principles.
Thank you. Right. I think that deals with the questions. I'd now to go to Councillor Mansell, who is going to put his amendment.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I have got an amendment to propose. Now, to address climate change, two types of action are needed. Action to mitigate the causes by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and action to adapt or be resilient to changes in our climate that are occurring and will continue to occur. Both types of action are covered in Somerset's climate emergency strategy and the Council's more recently adopted climate vision. But the current draft of the new Council vision in Appendix A, which is page 51 of the papers, in Appendix A, which is the new vision, it only covers the adapting or resilient part of these twin aims. The amendment now proposed ensures Somerset Council remains committed to making our contribution to reducing emissions, both from council operations and for Somerset. The main additions from the amendments apply to slides 2, 3 and 5 in Appendix A, which are headed Our Principles and Connection. Some of the changes included on other slides are made to just ensure consistency across the vision with these changes. The amendment refers to page numbers just to help. They are the same as the slide numbers in the council papers. If we do not ensure that the vision shows that the council is committed to reducing emissions, then we are saying it is enough to just try to adapt and be resilient to the impacts of climate change. This is a path to a world in which we do not stop ever increasing climate change. Instead, as emissions continue to grow in the atmosphere, the world will get hotter and hotter. Extreme weather will continue to increase. More of the planet will become uninhabitable, and in time, possibly soon, we will start to pass irreversible tipping points that will threaten civilization, human survival, and global ecosystems on which all life, including ours, depends. We must show that Somerset Council is committed to making our contribution to stopping climate change by reducing the council's carbon emissions and by helping to stop those from Somerset as a whole. The changes from the amendments do not write a blank cheque. Wording in the vision will still apply to say we will focus on changes we can deliver as a council. I have long been raising concerns over the council's approach and commitment to climate change in recent years. I've contributed to debate at Climate and Place Scrutiny, where there was an all-party recommendation to executive that there needed to be a review of the council's targets, which were in effect set back in 2019. I raised concern about the lack of commitment to mitigation in the draft of the new council vision when it was considered by corporate scrutiny, and again when it went to executive. I'm sorry to say that the responses given were dismissive and incredibly poor. However, I am pleased to now note there are new lead members taking on the climate change brief. As the associate lead, I know Steve has genuine concern and commitment in this area. I trust the same applies to Federica too, and will be hoping that both going forward are willing to engage with those in other groups on the council, especially those willing to work with them. I am committed and persistent, but I believe I was always aimed to be constructive in my approach too. I would like to see sensible and informed engagement in return. After a couple of lost years, I hope we can see this going forward. Right, returning quickly to the climate vision. This is important. We need to get it right. Sorry, to the council vision. This is important. We need to get it right. The vision must include our commitments to stopping climate change by reducing our emissions.
Are you nearly there?
Okay, it needs to say more that, can I just check, have I had 5 minutes? I'm not quite sure. I was told I had 5 minutes.
We've got another minute.
Thank you. Right. So we need to get it right by showing we've got a commitment to stopping climate change by reducing our emissions. The amendment does this by fitting into the framework that had already been established. It does so concisely. It shows the council continues to make a commitment to climate action on both reducing emissions and on adapting to the impacts. The amendment does not overcommit the council. It still sits in the context, as I said, of the statement in the vision that says we will focus on changes we can deliver as a council. Councillors, you are asked to please support this amendment to ensure the foundations are right, and a simple commitment is made to reducing emissions so that the impacts of climate change are not allowed to getting worse. It only matches what we already have in the climate emergency strategy and the climate vision. Both mitigation to reduce emissions and adaptation to change are needed. The words used in the vision are important. The amendment allows us to get them right. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I go to Councillor Kay, please, who is seconding?
I'd like to reserve my right to speak at the end of any further questions on this particular amendment.
Thank you. Now we open the debate up on the amendment. So would anybody like to? Yes, Liz.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to say that the scrutiny meeting where the vision, mission and principles was considered was a very useful meeting. There were people of all political colours making very good points, and I believe that that led to some good revisions before the executive meeting. I would also say that's the first time since I was elected that anyone's accused me of a poor response, and I do feel very disappointed by that comment. I have one small amendment that I would like to make to the existing paper before Councillor Mansell's amendment. It is literally 3 words, but it does reflect what Councillor Mansell is concerned about missing in this vision paper. But I will hold that because this amendment needs to come first. Personally, I do not support your amendment, Councillor Mansell, and that's not just because I'm personally offended. It's because I believe our aims must be realistic as a council. And whilst we share many of your concerns, everybody on this side of the chamber, indeed, I believe probably the whole chamber, or at least most of it, will share your concerns. What we must do at this point, which is an unusual point in the term of an administration for a new vision and missions, we need to have something in place that allows our officers who have worked extensively on this too, by completing all sorts of consultation and wordsmithing. So this needs to take us into the next election, across the election without any hiatus at all, and then into the new administration when whoever the new administration is then has a chance to put their own plan together. I think on this occasion, and when I have expressed that concern, particularly in my recent CIPFA interview, and I've said that I believe that this process of a new vision at this stage has worked much better than I expected, and that there has been terrific buy-in across the officer team and across members. So I support the vision, mission and principles that is in the paper. I do not support the amendment that is brought forward, but within reserving my right to speak as seconder, I will bring forward a minor amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak on this amendment? Yes, Diogo.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say the proposer's introduction to the amendment. I don't buy the doom and gloom, the end of the world is near narrative that is shared. And I think this sort of narrative is exactly the sort of thing which contributes to the mental health crisis that we have among our young people. So we need to be careful with our choice of words, I would say, around climate change. And yeah, I mean, we do need to do better. Obviously, I agree with some of the points that Councillor Mansell made, but just conscious of the way in which we sell that vision as well. And also, just in terms of the actual amendments that I'm seeing put forward in the paper, I don't think, looking at this, the amendments are really a huge issue or change much really of what the motion, what the paper is asking for. I mean, adding a few words saying "and protected" or "action and," or "protected natural world," all these sorts of things. I don't think that they necessarily change the vision or much at all. I think they're pretty moderate, much more moderate than the introduction that was given. And so I wouldn't be adverse to supporting what I think are sensible amendments, other than the perhaps not sensible, in my view, introduction.
Thank you. Caroline Ellis.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say anything, but I feel I must. I absolutely with you on the spirit of your amendments, Dave. I just think, we made commitments to tackle the climate and ecological emergency a number of years ago, and there's stuff that is actually happening. I know we don't have as much resources as we like. It's very frustrating because we're starved of resources at local government level, but there is a lot that we are doing. There's a new local nature recovery strategy. We're putting PV on council houses. We're building net zero council houses. There's a whole shed load of things that we're doing that I might perhaps like to be more at the forefront of the vision overall, because we are in an emergency. It's getting worse. I don't know how many of us here have seen the National Emergency Briefing and the People's Emergency Briefing, but I certainly have. So yes, I'm afraid the end is nigh, unless there is a massive, massive response across all the public sector and across society as a whole. I would urge anyone who hasn't seen the short version of the National Emergency Briefing, please watch it. A lot of us have been in our communities discussing with fellow citizens what is the response, because it's not doom and gloom. It is very, very serious, the situation that we are in. We are careering towards 3 to 4 degrees of global warming. That's my granddaughter is going to not have a future. Your grandchildren will not have a future. We are going to hell in a handcart, and it's all hands to the tiller. So ideally, I would like a slightly higher reference to it. I'll be very interested to see what Councillor Leishon can come up with. But regardless of what the words are in the vision, I'm sure I can say that this council remains committed to doing whatever we physically, humanly, possibly can to tackle the twin emergencies. And I know at town council level, Taunton Town Council, I'm proud to say one of the first things we did was declare climate and ecological emergency and put in place actually concrete measures to do something about it. And we are reducing our emissions. We're a new council. We're trying to get those emissions down. We're tracking the emissions. We're doing loads of work on nature restoration, and I'm sure other people in their town councils are doing similarly. So I'm with you in spirit. I hope that maybe what Liz is going to suggest might just really boost the profile of what we're already committed to. We know we can't. There's so much that we can't do. It's very, very frustrating. We don't have the resources, but we would do all that we possibly could.
Thank you. Peter C.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with the last speaker. There are a number of things we can do. There is absolutely not a lack of intent. The difficulty I have with the amendment is I think the wording can be twisted and co-opted to people's purposes which frustrate other parts of the plan. So, for example, the word protect. We are not protecting the status quo. We are protecting the people of Somerset. And we need to be clear about that, because one of the many things that is an issue in Somerset is our housing crisis. We wouldn't want somebody to be marching in and waving the council plan into the chamber and saying, you said you would stop development. So we need to be clear about clear in the wording as to what the wording means. And the other point, I think the previous speaker just glanced on it. Climate change is both a thing, a level, and a rate. And all we can really do in terms of the mitigation, which you addressed in your speech, is we can stop. We can make sure that we don't make it any worse than we need to. In other words, we minimise and are very well aware of the climate impacts of things that we do. And I think all of those things are already in the plan. And my concern is a few words added on at the end, which might have different meanings to different people, sort of fails the clarity test. It fails the sort of leadership and strategy tests. So I'm I agree with the last speaker that I don't think the profile of the topic is necessarily high enough at the moment, and also look forward to hearing what Councillor Lation has to add that might help. Thank you.
Bill Evans.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for contributions to this debate around the important topic of climate change and how the council is looking to respond through the council plan, visions and associated priorities. Thank you very much for the amendment, Councillor Mansell. I did at the end of the last executive meeting say if anybody wanted to look at any of the wording, please get in touch, and the amendment would have been submitted by the deadline on Thursday, and you kindly sent it to me on Monday at 2 o'clock. We've had some time to look at the wording. I share concerns about the word protect that Councillor Seeb has raised, and I know other colleagues do. So can I just draw Council's attention to, on the substantive, that there is a delegation to the Chief Executive in consultation with the leader to look at new wording, and can I offer the opportunity for the proposer and seconder of this motion to have a discussion with the new lead member and new associate lead member on this to see if we can agree that amended wording underneath that second recommendation, and then we can move forwards. I think the difficulty we've got if we start rewriting the vision through amendments here at full council, I think we may be setting ourselves up for a position which we will find ourselves in with which we do not want to be in the long term. So with the exception of Councillor Lyshon's amended words, which will come in a moment, I would suggest if that offer of discussion could be accepted and the amendment withdrawn, then we can proceed. Because for me, the most important thing isn't really the vision, it's the corporate plan that comes next. And that's about what we do, not just about the words that we use. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got to, sorry. Could you state the point of order in the Constitution?
Yeah, so I believe it's called personal representation. I've at least twice now been misunderstood and misrepresented in comments that others have made. I understand the Constitution allows me to address that. I would also like to, at the same time, just request a little bit of clarity on what's being offered. But the main reason is I think I'm entitled to correct where I've been misunderstood, and I think it's personal representation.
We can cover this in the final statement. I've got two more speakers to come and then I'll come back.
Chair, not, just with respect, I believe when these are raised, they're taken. I believe that's what the Constitution says. Can that be confirmed?
So members are allowed to make a point of personal explanation, but it's not a personal point to actually correct other people in a debate. Obviously, you do have a right to sum up in a second. So if you think you're being misrepresented, I think what the chair was saying, you can do that. But also, I'm just conscious you did ask for a further clarification about what I think the leader of the council just offered. So I don't know if the chair wants to allow that.
Yes, okay. Back to the leader.
Thank you. I will repeat it. I think it was quite clear that I'm very happy under the second recommendation of the substantive, which is to delegate authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Leader of the Council to make minor changes to the vision, should these be considered necessary following the development of the Council's corporate plan. If the proposer and seconder of this motion would like to meet with the lead member and associate lead member to agree words, then myself and the Chief Executive will look at those, and if they are minor that don't change the meaning and substance of where we want to go with the vision. But our desire is to get on with the corporate plan, not to exchange points around the process here. Let's get on with it.
Right, can I just, I've got two other people that want to speak. Can I take those?
Do we not take points of orders and personal representations at the time they're raised? Have I got that wrong?
If you're going to keep arguing with me, it's going to take forever to do. Can I take these other people that wish to make the points? I will come back, we will clarify it, and then we'll move on. So could I move on to Conor Payne, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, loud. My question is just regarding and I agree with what Councillor Lyshon said about how the scrutiny went on the corporate plan, etc. But I refer to the summary of decisions from the scrutiny meeting of the 29th of April. And the decision under developing the corporate plan, point 4, was infrastructure should be recognised as a cross-cutting priority that underpins all 3 vision themes with clearer reference within the vision and golden thread and detailed delivery set out through the corporate plan. But the corporate plan that has come to full council doesn't reference infrastructure as being within the golden thread. So can I just clarify whether or not the executive discussed point 4 of the decision?
I think that goes back to the debate. We'll come back to it again. Right, can I move on to Gwyl Wren, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just some general comments to make. I don't know how many members realise that the Climate Change Committee published its 4th report today, a well-adapted UK, which references the fact that the Climate Change Act was passed 20 years ago and has been a huge success, but it's reduced emissions by 42%. But there's been little progress actually on preparing ourselves for the changing climate. I think we all know that climate doesn't change overnight, although I suppose we've all noticed the incremental changes over the last 20 or 30 years. I think the point is that if we haven't got ourselves fully adapted to potential peak summers of 40, 42 degrees within the next 10 or 15 years, then we're going to be in real trouble. And therefore, I think councils like ourselves really should be supporting a lead on this, particularly in all the documentation. And I think we've all noticed that globally there is beginning to be a bit of a pushback against environmental matters and environmental generally, and this suspicion that it's ending up on the too difficult pile. Well, actually, it won't be us it's too difficult for, it'll be the next generations, and they won't thank us for what we have or haven't done. So therefore, I think any documentation that this council puts out really needs to emphasise the seriousness of the situation that the world is entering at the moment. And if, as I understand, the leader has said, there is an option for further discussions to take on board latest information and make this acceptable to all sides, I would certainly support that. But in the meantime, I'm happy to support the amendment. Thank you.
Mandy Chilcott.
Thank you very much. Just have a question, really. The amendment we are now debating is not an amendment to the recommendation. It's actually an amendment to the body of the report. I've not seen this before. You know, is the way we will do amendments in future? Because normally, like I said, they are amendments to recommendations. This is not that. This is a paper that has been through committee. Comments have been fed back to the executive, and those have been included and reflected in the paper. So it is sort of a point of order, please, just so we're clear moving forward, because it could open a huge number of amendments coming forward.
Thank you for that, Hospital Pass Chair. I can't speak for tradition here, Councillor Chilcott. I agree with you that I've usually seen people amending recommendations, but the recommendation is to adopt the vision as set out in the papers. Therefore, the amendment that's being proposed is effectively altering the recommendation. It's in the detail, not the wording in the recommendation. It could have been laid out, say, to add at this sentence, to add at that sentence effectively. But it was a bit more visual, I think, the way it's being presented. So I think it's a fair point, and we'll make sure we pick that up in future to make sure we got consistency.
Can I suggest you do need to amend your constitution in line with what you've just said then? Thank you.
Okay, can I finally go to Sam?
Thank you. Clearly, I'm new here and so I was not involved in the process of putting this paper together, but the debate over this amendment seems to be about two things: process and intent of what this paper is designed to do. And what's happening here is what seems to happen all the time, which is that people who do want to do something on climate end up fighting about one word in either direction or where the full stop is, while the people that shake their head about climate change and pretend that it isn't an issue and don't need any action get away scot-free. So I think we need to remember why we're in this is to make a difference. Shaking heads does nothing for my resident Katie in Oak Hill, whose house gets flash flooded repeatedly now, or Jessica down in Chilcompton, whose house apparently should only flood once in every 100 years, but has flooded twice in the past decade. So ultimately, I just want to remind us that we are here to come to action and to make a difference, not necessarily to worry about exactly where the comma or the full stop is.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to Councillor Mansell regarding the offer made from the leader. With a reply on that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Firstly, I think I should just do the personal explanation bit because I have been misunderstood, it appears. Firstly, Liz, I didn't refer to your poor response. I didn't refer to you as making a poor response. It was the members of executive who responded to the points I raised at scrutiny and executive. I'm sorry. To my judgment, they were poor, but they weren't made by you. So I wasn't planning to name where they came from, but it was just the way the committee worked, and I didn't feel scrutiny was respected. That was my feeling. Now the other point was I should also clarify that the amendment was submitted by the deadline last week. When it was submitted, it did say that we were very happy to discuss the wording of it with others. We were open to that. We didn't know what the wording of the climate vision, what the council vision wording was going to be, because it didn't come out after executive, and we didn't see it until we got it in the council papers. You know, this is all so compressed and so little time allowed for anybody to do anything. It clearly creates problems.
Can I move you back to the offer from the leader? Would you like?
I was just about to do that. So yeah, on the offer, sorry, I don't wish to quibble, but the Constitution allows, do please read it. I must admit I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure I'm asking for the right thing. So we shouldn't not be allowed to do what the Constitution allows. Now, the offer, the bit that I'm just thinking about, look, I'm open to it, and I really wish we'd had the opportunity to do this before. And what would have been really great is if there'd been a positive response when we asked for this to be addressed from scrutiny, and it was raised again at executive, and it wasn't done. We didn't, and now it's trying to be done right at the meeting. It should have happened at the time, in the democratic pathway that we went through. I tried. I wish others had done. Now, on the offer, it's a minor amendment. Now, I don't know what a minor amendment's going to allow. We've got a simple amendment here. I think we should vote on that.
You are now rejecting the offer. Can I move to Councillor Kay because she reserved her right?
Okay, I think we're not entirely sure about what the offer is. I think that's one of the issues. How long have I got? 2 minutes? Okay, thank you. Just to address some of the things that people have said, we do have a climate emergency strategy. The climate emergency strategy, sorry, I've been locked out of my computer, does mention net zero, and it does mention the climate actions. We also have a climate vision, and we've recently done a carbon baseline. That identified scope 3. We need to be working on what they call scope 3, which is looking at council procedures, looking at the vehicles we buy, looking at putting solar panels on our own buildings and looking at our own energy suppliers. We're looking, all those things are not actually tied into this council vision unless the council vision makes it really clear that we're taking action to mitigate climate change. We have to put that in. That is the main thrust of our amendment. Some of the wordiness has come about because we're working with a template that we would not have chosen. Right, we were not engaged as members. We haven't had a briefing on it. We were not engaged as members over the past 6 months until the last month when it went to scrutiny. So therefore, we're working with the template we've been given, and we're trying to change the template we've been given. So that's why it's been bunged in under connectedness, as far as we can see. So we're trying to amend it under the section on connectedness. There is a section on principles. We're pleased about that, but again, that doesn't really emphasise enough on mitigation. Therefore, I'd like to ask you to vote for the amendment and vote with your conscience and not vote along party political lines, because you know that we do need to have this in here for consistency so that all the other strategies tie up and so that there is a mission to drive this going forward, not just words that, you know, we have the intent, but it's actually written in our documents and it's up there in our documents for everyone to see, as it was in the last vision that we're now abandoning, that we did in the run-up to vesting day. And that's what I'd like to ask you to therefore move to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that. Right, before we move to the vote, Dave, is there any brief sum you wish to put forward before we vote?
I must admit, sir, I was not paying due attention. I apologise. I think I've just been offered a brief opportunity to sum up.
Is there a brief, thank you very much. Is there a brief thing that you wish to say before we move to the vote? Thank you.
Right. Is Councillor Dingwall quite well? I'm no, sorry, I'm just checking.
Okay.
Thank you. This is a simple and straightforward amendment. It does not ask too much. It is realistic. All it asks is a confirmation of the council to confirm that as part of the vision, we are still wanting to do our share within what the council's able to deliver to reduce our emissions. It's not there at the moment. This is the way to make sure it is there. It's simple. Please vote for it.
Thank you very much. Right, the amendment has been put and seconded. Can I have a show of hands, all those in favour of the amendment? Those against? Okay, that is defeated. So we now, yes, David. Could you put your microphone on? So
I'd like to register that one of the councillors opposite used an offensive term towards me personally. I should be registering that as a standards issue. It will be on record.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, can I just point out that I made a comment. It was certainly not aimed at David Fothergill.
You can defend yourself in the standards board.
I think this
I'm not going to defend myself a second time in a standards board about something that was not referred to yourself. That's the misuse of the standards.
I think this needs to be taken after the meeting. Thank you.
Back to the debate.
We're back to the debate on the actual paper that's been put in front of you. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I couldn't hear any of that. I couldn't hear what Councillor Fothergill said. And I think it's really important I do hear this because we are in debate, but I just don't understand what's going on, why it's taking so long just to get through one motion. There's loads of people in this room and it just seems to be the same people talking again and again and again. And we all live busy lives and I just want to get this moved on, please. Thank you.
Okay, I open up the debate. Does anyone else wish to enter the debate before we sum up and move to a vote? Yes, you.
Chair, the last speaker, I don't know how he can actually make that comment. He's been playing with his screen all the time he's been here.
I'm listening.
It's about time you people sorted him out.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Revert to, does anybody else wish to speak? If not, I'll go back to Councillor Leisha.
Thank you, Chair. As I said, I am very happy to second the vision and mission and principles. I do want to add 3 words. I hope my 3 words won't disappoint Councillor Ellis and others too much. On page 3 of Appendix A, under climate change resilience is part of how we plan and deliver, we've got: we're committed to protecting Somerset's natural environment and support action on, add, comma, and mitigation of, comma, climate change. And the rest of it remains the same. And then on page 5, the descriptors, which is where all the infrastructure is referenced. So in all those bullet points, that is where we're referencing infrastructure. At this stage, of course, the corporate plan will go much further, but on that last bullet point, again, support Somerset's natural environment and support action on and mitigation of climate change. And I put that forward in recognition of what we heard at scrutiny and executive, that that word mitigation is as important as action. I don't know whether that's a drafting amendment or whether it's an amendment that needs to go to a vote. That's all I wanted to add, Chair.
We're having that discussion, but we think it's an amendment. Yes, Bill.
Thank you. I did want to respond to Councillor Payne's comments. Yes, we did take the points back that you raised about infrastructure into account in the drafting and our conversations afterwards. Councillor Leyshon's referred to where they were added into the document on page 4, 5 and 6. If I've highlighted that clause of the recommendation that allows us to have further conversation should anything minor need to be amended. If you think that there is, I'm more than happy to have a conversation, which I'm sure will be carried out with courtesy and respect.
Okay, so the discussions we have, that is an amendment as the amendment before. So
I'm not going to say point of order because I don't know what point it is, but surely that's already in point 2 of the recommendation to make minor changes. 3 words. If that's not minor, then we're in real trouble.
If you're happy, Chair, for me to, I think if the motion was passed exactly as Councillor Purbuck's just suggested, and those words were put forward, we can pick those up as minor amendments rather than have to have a debate on the amendments and then take further votes, picking up the Councillor's point from previously about the process we seem to be elongating quite considerably, but that's obviously up to Councillor Leyshon.
And Chair, I'm very happy to take that advice. Thank you.
right, I will finally go back to Councillor Revens if he wishes to add anything before we vote.
How many minutes do I have? No, thank you.
The proposal has been put forward, the recommendations as per the paper. Could I see a show of hands, those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's clearly carried. Thank you very much. Right, we go on to item 9, which is the review of Council's constitution. And go to Ross Henley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and well done, and congratulations on your recent re-election to the chair this afternoon. Thank you for Tim Curley, Councillor Tim Curley, my fantastic vice chair, who chaired the meeting. This issue was discussed on Thursday, 7th of May, which I decided to take the afternoon off as it was a very sort of a special birthday. So thank you for standing in. He did a fantastic job, and the meeting was conducted very, very professionally. I've heard from other people as well. This is in relation to changes to the Constitution, which we're constantly looking at and evolving after vesting day, particularly in terms of some of the challenging discussions that we've had in terms of budget amendments as well. And I think we've all agreed after this year's budget agreement, we can do better. We can do better than we can, and it needs to be firmed up. It needs to be much more professional. And these changes to budget amendments, making it so that opposition groups or members of the council who wish to move budget amendments work with officers who are there to support officers, councillors across the political spectrums to bring forward professional budget amendments, and that these amendments have to be signed off by the 151 officer before bringing forward to full council at the budget time, and also looking at the speaking time for leader and leader of the opposition. I'm very, very supportive of this. I know when I was an opposition spokesman for finance for 6 years, from 2011 to 2017, we always unsuccessfully, but that's fine, brought forward budget amendments each year, we always work with officers, and we always worked with officers to make sure that the papers that we brought forward were circulated before the meeting in due time, went out the agenda, and they were signed off as robust budget amendments. And I think that's really, really important. I think it's something we need to enshrine in our constitution as being much more professional. And I very much support that. And I look to my vice chairman, Tim, who's potentially going to second this motion.
Okay, Tim Curley.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say that quite a lot of work was done outside of the committee on this. There's quite a lot of specialisms here. I'd describe this really as housekeeping with a few minor changes. I think for me personally, the thing that I pick out of this, and I think everybody can pick their own individual change out, is the delegated functions that are going to come to Constitution and Governance Committee in terms of parish boundaries, etc. So, yeah, I absolutely commend this. Thank you very much, Chair.
Right, if I open it up for anybody that wants to. Yes, Sue, and welcome back.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'm very glad to be back. And thank you for the warm and best wishes I've received from colleagues on all sides of the house. It's just a minor point. I think I did talk to Stephen about this one. And the point I'd like to raise is on page 9068, which is on ModGov, agenda item 9, and it's the changes to the community review function that we're doing. I'm quite happy to see the Community and Governance Committee be able to take it all the way and issue the final decisions. I believe we do a very good job on that. We have very comprehensive discussions, but I do think there should be a backstop that every so often, and agenda item 11 will confirm this, that we get very, very controversial ones, actually looking at bringing legal reviews. And I think there should be a backstop that for something that is really controversial, very split, very divisive, and in the interests of democracy and good governance, that we should have the right to still be able to refer those very controversial ones to full council, so everyone can be assured that everything has been done to follow process that has been done. I'll say it now because it will save me speaking on number 11 at this point. No, I'll save it till point 11, but it's basically that we retain that backstop. Other than that, I'm happy with the changes, and I'm happy that when we do community governance reviews, we debate them properly and comprehensively, and we are certainly not irrational.
Yeah, Alan, did you want to?
Thank you, Chair. And in brief, that right still exists. So the committee can still debate a matter and refer it to council should it wish to do so for exactly the circumstances you're setting out, Councillor.
Diogo.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points from me. I'm pleased with Councillor Henley's introduction, which is basically admitting that their own rules around budget amendments were not professional enough. And so they're having to strengthen their own rules around that, which is welcome. And of course, we all work with officers and have done working with officers towards budget amendments and other things. So I'm pleased that that's being made more robust and their rules are being made better. The only thing I would say is I take it personally that you don't want to hear me speak for 15 minutes, but just 10 in the future. But it's the same for one, same for the other. So fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, I can't see any further hands. Is there anything else you wish to add, Ross, before we go to the...
That's quite a nice intervention by the leader of the opposition there, and actually sort of changing the tone of the what I actually was trying to say. I think that's not the case. The thing every budget amendment we brought through was signed off by officers and 151 officers, a robust budget amendment. Council chose not to accept that. That's absolutely fine, but we want to bring forward things on a professional basis, and I think that's something we need to support. And I think, you know, and if people don't believe it's professional to do that and work with the officers, the 151 officers, and get that sign off, then I think they perhaps have an unrealistic relationship with factual realities.
Bill.
I just wanted to make the point. I think the Constitution belongs to every member of council, not just to the administration. And if we can improve it at any opportunity, it's a living document, and the more opportunities we have to improve it and make it better. And I'm more than happy to hear less from the leader of the opposition. I'm more than happy to hear less from myself as well.
Right, the recommendations on page 63 have been put and second. Can I have a show of hands, all those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? So that is carried. Right, we move on to agenda item 10, which is the appointments of committees, internal and external boards and panels. And I'd like to hand over to Alan.
Thank you, Chair. As is normal at the AGM, we go through the process of ensuring that our committees are appropriately populated with you as members, and we have that proportionality associated with all of that distribution across those members. Can I thank my colleagues in Democratic Services, Scott in particular, but also a number of key members who have been crucial in working this very complicated picture out to ensure that all of the committees are fairly and appropriately represented across the piece. At that point, Chair, I'll go back to you for debate.
Don't want to press that one. Can I go to Liz, please, who's proposing?
Indeed, Chair, I'm pleased to propose this paper of appointments to committees, internal, outside bodies and panels. It is more comprehensive than it has been in the past. I would like to thank Scott Wooldridge for the work that he's been doing on this. It is just one of my labours of love through the civic year to ensure that this paper is published in time for this meeting and that we do fill every space on every committee, every panel, every outside body. I'd also like to thank Claire Dickin of the Democratic Services team, with whom I meet every month to ensure that we are filling vacancies. And last summer we did, or rather Claire did, with her colleagues, a full review of every single outside body and every single member who sits on an outside body. And so we have, I hope now, a list that will take us through today, through to the next election and out at the other side of the next election without anyone ever having to do that mammoth piece of work that is the outside bodies list following, well, just before vesting day. So I will probably never forget the 2 weeks when I presented the first budget for Somerset Council and the week after the outside bodies list for the new council again. But my thanks go to everyone who has contributed. Thank you.
Thank you. Diego, you're going to second.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I will second, and also just a couple of things from me as I'm seconding. Just to say, there's one thing I don't agree with Councillor Lation on. She says she hopefully now has a list of outside bodies for beyond the next election. Well, I hope that those outside body nominations change completely beyond the next election, but perhaps we can agree to disagree on that one. I know that whilst we will approve, of course, this agenda item, there are some concerns which one or two members may raise, which I think are valid concerns to have. But one question I do have, which may not be available today, but will be welcoming it in written response, is I'm wondering what is the percentage of members of the administration or the ruling group that are now in receipt of an SRA? Is that something that's been calculated? If not, can that be calculated and circulated?
Yeah, we'll find out and you'll get a written response. Okay, Jill Slocum.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations. I just would like to take the opportunity as the Chair of Adults and Health and Housing. I see there's going to be a lot of changes. I hope it's nothing to do with me, but you know, I think I'm very good. Well, I'm very friendly, but we know. I'd just like to thank my vice chairman that's going out is Claire Sully. We've worked very well together, and she's a massive engagement with me. And we don't always agree, but we've had some good chats. And I want to thank you very much, Claire, because I've really, really enjoyed working with you. And I welcome all the new members that are coming to our committee. It's a strong, hard-working committee, as all of them are. But I just want to mention all this to the new ones, and obviously to my new vice chairman. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Just a quick question for clarity. I see there's some new associate lead members and new positions on the list, and congratulations to all of them. I'd just like to ask in what context the word prevention is used in the transformation and prevention thing. It might be nice to get maybe a list of what the tasks that those members are going to be doing moving forward, but some clarity on that one. Thank you.
Yeah, just very, very briefly, Councillor Cameron brings with him a broad range of experience working with the NHS and with public health to around the prevention sphere, and I particularly would like him to use that expertise to support the council. Prevention is an important part of our transformation programme as well. I see a lot of business cases that come forward with prevention as being part of that, and that's why I've linked those two in together, and I'm looking forward to Councillor Cameron's involvement in that.
John Hunt.
Could I just come back on that just quickly, Chair? I think bearing in mind that the council has a responsibility for elements around the prevent strategy as well, it might be worthwhile clarifying within the job title that that's health prevention, just for some clarity.
Okay, can I come back to you with a written response on that, because that's an ambiguity I hadn't anticipated, but I'm quite happy to take that offline.
Thank you. Going to go to John Hunt now, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was a good impersonation of me, I thought just now. I'd just like to thank Councillor Lation for getting all this together, a job I don't think she cherishes at all. Just would like to recognise the work of Councillor Redmond as well, who's done a lot to help us on this side. I think there's 4 or 5 groups here with small memberships, but he has managed to get us all together and liaise with each group leader and sort out our positions here. So thank you to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Mandy, did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you, Chair. Just to say firstly, I suppose it's thanks to the administration and it's in relation to Exmoor National Park. The position there was, to myself originally, was outside of political proportionality. I thank you for the opportunity. It's been very much valued, the time that I have spent there. And I would just leave the council with a thought, really. The Secretary of State, as we've seen in the report, does recommend or support that local councillors that have parts of their divisions within the park should, where possible, be members on the park. Now, I understand that's not happened today, but I would ask whomever is in control next year, I think if you have areas within the park, you absolutely are part of the everyday work that goes on there. You have skin in the work of the park, and for me what will be missing with myself not being there is that connection back to the LCN, to all the tourism work that you do, and certainly the tourism around Minehead directly connects with the park. The active travel is routes in and out of Minehead and the park. So for me, I will be missing a lot of information. I'll be sad to do that. So I'd ask whoever's in control next time, just have a think about that. And if we could put a bit more weighting on those that are local and are part of the park with their wards, I think that'd be really welcome, as we do with our planning committees at the moment. And I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I can't see any other hands. Liz, do you want to add anything before we go to vote? Sorry, Bill.
Thank you. I want to repeat the thanks to Councillor Lation for all the hard work, and to Councillor Redmond, who corrals the smaller parties on this council to allocate those seats. It's not a straightforward business, and the spreadsheets that fly around. And I thought I was being helpful at one point and got told off. So I know not to ever do that again. Can I just take this opportunity to thank 3 people who are stepping down from the executive team today. It's a leader of council decision, not a full council decision. It's why it's not on this paper, but it's for noting. A huge thank you to Graham Oakes, who has covered the public health and climate change portfolios for the last year, particularly around public health. His experience and wisdom around nursing, being, I think that professional background has really helped us, and we have heard endlessly the wonders that are the new Ham Hill Vista Centre, and I would recommend it, and particularly the coffee, I'm told. Thanks also to Councillor Valkeach and to Councillor Fran Smith, who both stepping down as associate lead members. Both of them have served exemplary, both in this council and in predecessor councils. Valkeach, obviously, as former leader of South Somerset Council, has brought with her a huge range of experience onto our decision making, and her experience experience around localities has been very, very welcomed, as has her previous role as being Chair of South West Councils, and Councillor Fran Smith, who has contributed hugely to both adult social care and to the housing revenue account, with her experience of having been the executive member on Somerset West and Taunton, previously responsible for council housing. It's really helped having that continuity in that associate lead member, and I do appreciate their contributions, and look forward to their contributions in different roles as we move forwards. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to wrap up by saying, of course, what I'm hoping to leave as a legacy is the list of positions for outside bodies. The names that go against those positions, of course, are dependent on the ballot box, not on me or anyone else. So happy to propose this, Chair.
Thank you. The recommendations have been put to you on page 277, 278 in the agenda. Can I have a show of hands? All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Move on to item 11, which is the Community Governance Review for Hewish, Episcopi and Langport. And I'd like to go to the leader, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to propose that we adjourn item 11. Members may be aware that there's been legal challenge received, and we've had legal advice on this agenda item, and both came quite late in the day. And I'm very aware that if members are to properly consider legal advice and legal challenge that has come in and give them due consideration in their votes, they need more time to study that. And so I think it would be wise to adjourn those items so that members can be properly informed. And it may be that we need to arrange a briefing before that comes onto our agenda, so that we can fully understand the issues involved.
Right, I need a second for that. I know your hand went up, Ross.
Yes, thank you very much. As Chair of Constitution and Governance Committee, we spent an awful lot of time looking at various representations from the communities of Hewish, Episcopi and Langport regarding these proposals. And as Bill so eloquently put, I only heard yesterday morning from Alan Jones that there had been a legal challenge from members of the community in Hewish, Episcopi regarding the decision taken by Constitution and Governance Committee. And I would strongly advise their members to regard this not as an opportunity today to review and repick any of the rights and wherefores of the original decision and everything, whether it's right or wrong, but just to reflect upon this. Legal challenges come in. Let's use this opportunity to adjourn this item today and take the right and opportunity to get the appropriate legal advice from Somerset Council, and then bring it back and then review the item and then come back to members at the earliest appropriate opportunity.
Okay, thank you. That is to, I don't want to enter into the debate onto this. Okay, Sue, go.
Thank you. As a grassroots member of the Constitution and Governance Committee, and I was present, as were others, for that debate and actively participated, I'd like to assure full council that we had a comprehensive debate, robust challenge to points raised, and we spent a considerable amount of time on this. And as far as I'm concerned, we delivered to the professionalism that anyone would expect, and it was certainly ably chaired by Ross, because it was a thorough debate. I do not understand why they are saying irrational. There was nothing irrational that came out of our debate. I don't think there's anything irrational in the paperwork. The fundamentals here boil down to two things: the difference in precept between Langport and Hewish Episcopi,
I think we're going
and
into
the
debate.
difference in reserves. But I would like to assure this committee that we did have a full and robust debate, and as far as I can see, our decision to allow the merger to happen was sound.
Right, okay. Martin.
Will this, after the legal expensive debates have taken place, will it be going back to the Constitution and Governance Committee or straight here as it has been now?
It goes to Constitution and Governance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Diogo?
Yeah, just a point on process. It was asked after it going to Constitution and Governance, is it the Constitution and Governance Committee that would then make the decision, or will it then be referred back to full council to make a decision? And also the second point on Councillor Evans said that obviously members need time to look at the legal advice that's been presented. Can you confirm that all members will have sight of the legal advice as has been presented, so we can make that proper decision when it comes to whatever committee or council?
Chair, if I may, thank you. So all members will receive a briefing on the contents of the legal advice and the potential next steps associated with it.
Thank you. Hugh at the back.
Thank you, Chair. As a member of that committee, excuse me, I'm a bit cautious about voting one way or the other. I don't think we should vote if we're on that committee.
We're voting for an adjournment so that the legal process be analysed.
But afterwards then, Chair, if we vote then afterwards, should we still vote?
Yeah, we are voting on adjourning and we will return to it. But at the moment, because of the process that's going on, it's felt that not to consider it at this time, to delay it until the full information.
Chair, you're missing my point. I'm saying that us on that committee not voting, because we could say, no, we don't want it. End of story. It should not be us voting at all.
Thank you, Chair. I think I understand the councillor's point. I think the point the Chair's trying to raise, councillor, is that what you're voting for now is to adjourn the item and send it back to your committee. If you feel that you would be better not voting on that matter, then obviously that's a matter for you. But there isn't any constitutional reason you shouldn't vote on that, because it doesn't express any view either way about what you might do once it gets back to the committee. Correct. And just to pick up Councillor Rodriguez's point, as was previously discussed, it would be up to the committee whether it chooses to send it back to the council or not under the new constitutional arrangements.
Right, I can't see any further hands, so it's been put to delay this. It's been proposed and seconded. Can I have a show of hands, please? All those in favour? Is there anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay, one. That's carried. Because we've got some more substantive issues coming up, I'm going to give us a 15-minute break now. Thank you.
Couple of things to members as we go into the new calendar year. So, as you know, the council does welcome really good civil debate at its meetings. Please can we remind you of the key provisions from the Constitution in relation to the debate on motions. We've got 15 minutes provided for the debate on a motion. The proposers of a motion have up to 3 minutes to speak, and the seconders of a motion also have up to 3 minutes to speak. All other members will have up to 2 minutes to speak and can only speak once on an item unless they subsequently wish to raise a point of order or personal explanation. Any speeches by the leader of the council and the opposition group leader have up to 15 minutes each. At the end of the debate on a motion, whether the seconder has reserved their right to speak, then they shall do so before the motion is put to the vote. If the seconder has not reserved their right to speak, then the proposer of the motion shall have the final speech before the motion is put to the vote. We'd really ask that to maximise the number of councillors that can speak on motions or amendments, that we ask all group leaders and members as succinct as they can possibly be and not repeat points made by other members. Thank you very much indeed, members.
Thank you, Lee. Right, so we move into item 12, the motions. Starting off with motion A, protecting Somerset's visitor economy and rejecting a holiday tax. This is going to be proposed by Bob Filmer, and I'll ask you to present.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is under 3.33. Motions should be about matters for which the council has direct responsibility or duty. There are no powers that this council has to levy a holiday tax. There are no proposals from government to give this council powers for a holiday tax. That proposal is for strategic mayoral authorities and foundation strategic authorities. This motion does not apply to this council.
Can I refer to the monitoring officer to reply, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the point that's been raised by Councillor Evans has been carefully considered, and I'm mindful that the purpose of the motion, as put, is to essentially set out a future policy position, regardless of whether legislation is available to us or not as part of that process. It was my judgment as part of that assessment that in assessing that view, it is possible and capable for this council to debate that matter and potentially consider whether it wishes to adopt the motion that has been put forward and reject that position. But I understand the reason for raising it, but I have considered that matter and believe that the motion is admissible for debate.
Thank you. With that in mind, I go back to Bob Philmat.
Thank you, Chairman.
Hang
Firstly,
on a sec, Bob. Is this a point of order from the back?
It was just, Chairman, to say, is there any limitations on what can be considered a future policy position? What are the limits on that? Because that seems very broad.
I think the monitoring officer needs to cover that, and I think that can be done following your comments. But for now, can we just go into this debate, please? Thank you.
thank you, Chairman. I understand that some members have had concerns over the reference that I made to what other councils may be doing, and as that's not fundamental to my motion, I have removed that section to simply say the government has announced that it will permit local authorities to introduce a tourist or holiday tax, as I don't want the important issues that affect businesses in my division simply to get tied up in semantics. As many of you will know, in my area, Brent Division, it contains many holiday businesses across Farrow and Breen, but also across the wider area, with many of them catering for visitors to our beautiful county. Many of those businesses have raised the holiday tax with me as they have real and understandable concerns as to the impact that such a tax could have on them. The proposals, which could see local councils charging an added fee of up to 5% of the cost of overnight stays in hotels and holiday lets, could amount to millions of pounds in added taxes for holidaymakers and thousands of job losses across the hospitality industry by 2030. Across Somerset, we have large numbers of businesses associated with tourism and many local people employed in the leisure and tourism industries. Many of these businesses are family run and are already having to deal with increased government taxes, increased costs to employ staff, and increased overheads such as fuel, and they cannot afford further burdens imposed locally. I raised this at the executive in April and was advised that this is not something that Somerset can do on its own, but only as part of strategic authority. Bearing in mind that it is council policy to seek to become part of such a strategic authority, I'm sure you will understand why local businesses and visitors are seeking reassurance from the council that Somerset will not seek to introduce such a tax. Local businesses are already having a difficult time to secure their futures. They constantly need to invest in their businesses, and the prospect of this tax is a sword of Damocles hanging over them. I had hoped today that the council, by supporting this motion, would have been able to remove these worries and uncertainty, that we could have sought the backing of our Somerset MPs and continue to promote Somerset as a tourist destination, thereby showing our support for all those that work in tourism and the visitor economy. However, having read the proposed amendment, which involves the change of title, whole-scale deletion and rewriting of the motion, resulting in a motion that bears no resemblance to the original in content or intent, and whereas the original motion focused on the levy and its potential impacts and avoided partisan comments, the new amendment in its format is blatantly political, casts aspersions on those raising the original concerns, completely changing the tone and spirit of the motion. I believe that it is clear the proposed amendment to the original motion is a wrecking amendment and is contrary to the Constitution as set out in clause 3.5, allowing additions and deletions, but not to negate the motion or to introduce a new motion. In this case, it is so different from the original as to be a new motion. Clause 3.34 says the chair will refuse to accept any amendment which is deemed illegal, improper, vexatious, or out of order. The proposed amendment seeks to frustrate the content and spirit of the original motion and attacks the motion and its proponents, claiming speculation about Somerset Council imposing a holiday tax has undermined the visitor economy in Somerset. Therefore, I believe this amendment should not have been valid and should not have been permitted to be tabled. However, due to that proposed amendment being allowed, I am withdrawing the motion today.
Okay, So the motion is being withdrawn. Obviously, you're Andy Dingwell, you're seconded. Obviously, are you seconding the proposal to remove the motion?
He doesn't. No, he doesn't need to.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So it's withdrawn. So that motion then is withdrawn from the agenda. So we move on to motion B. And motion B is urgent action to improve SEND assessment timelines. And it's proposed by Councillor Faye Purbrick. I'm getting my teeth in about Faye.
Thank you, Chair, and I will keep this brief. I'd like to just start by welcoming the new lead member for SEND, and I look forward to hearing her come back to scrutiny and this council to hopefully report on how the improved timing on EHCPs will be benefited should members across the whole council support this motion. I'm not going to go into the detail, you can see it in front of you, but I'd just like to thank the officers who, following the initial debate that came at full council in February, have come forward with these plans to deliver a solution for what we all know is a growing issue. And I hope everybody will agree that the EHCP timelines and getting that sorted is essential, that the young people of Somerset get the best opportunity to thrive, because every day that this delays is an effect on their education and an effect on their future for the rest of their lives, hopefully here in Somerset. Now, any delay to bringing these officer proposals forward, I think, should be minimised with action, not just at pace, but at a fast pace. And I'm sure that we've all heard heartbreaking stories from our local residents. And also I've heard many on the doorstep where you go back after a month, after a year, and there are families and children still suffering under this. So I hope that everybody will be able to support this motion. And I believe that we should probably follow on from the words of the leader earlier. Let's get on with it. It's not about words, it's deeds. Raise your hands and please support this for the young people and their families of Somerset. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Bill, do you wish to speak or reserve your right?
I will speak. I think I'll go for speaking. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Councillor Purbrick, for bringing this forward and for giving me the opportunity to second. We've been acutely aware of the performance in special educational needs and disabilities, and in particular the timeliness of bringing forwards these assessments. I don't think there'll be a councillor in this council that's not had communication from a parent who is not happy with the service that we are delivering at the moment, and we need to recognise that and our responsibility for that. And I was pleased to see the plans brought forward by the team, and I'm sure Councillor Heather Shearer will comment on that. You correctly spotted that I've also added the political capacity to be able to put in an extra lead member with responsibility for SEND alongside public health inequalities, to be able to give extra political leadership into that role as well, because I think it's a time when you've got to recognise we need another shoulder to this wheel, and now is that time. I took the opportunity to just look back at my son, who's partially sighted, in the documents that we went through at school. This was in the days of School Action and School Action Plus and the support of the visual impaired system. And the discussions we had with the school, we got all the right provision into place without any confrontation, got him the maximum support. He's now got a master's degree in electronic engineering and does jobs that I can possibly understand. We can give those opportunities to people, and we've ended up with a system nationally where we're spending £30 billion more and not getting better results as a result. And I welcome that we've got SEND reforms coming. They've been delayed, and I think that's been part of the increase of volume, has been the delayed as it's been get one while stocks last on the HCPs, which has been unhelpful, having that delay from the government. And I don't minimise the importance of the HCPs by that comment. Please don't misinterpret that. I just know how important it is for many families to get these across the line. And if we can get ourselves back to a system, back to the service, back to a system where a situation where it is meeting the demands, and if we can get back to and get the whole system to a point where there is much less confrontation and a lot more collaboration, wouldn't it be much better for our children? Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you. if we move to the registered speakers within this debate, Conor Payne, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I'm in support of Councillor Purbrick's motion, not only as a Somerset councillor, but as someone working day to day in a mainstream school. At my school in Chard, my colleagues in SEND have been clear about the reality that we now face. Our staff are not unwilling, they are exhausted and trying to make a system work that is too slow to respond to children in crisis. The issue is not willingness, it is delay. Delays in EHCP assessment lead directly to delays in funding and provision. And in the middle of that delay is a child struggling in a classroom without the support they need, the children who slip through the net without the opportunities we want every young person to have. Teachers are doing their best without the staffing or specialist provision required, while parents watch their children fall behind month after month. We are legally expected to complete these assessments within 20 weeks, yet times are nearing 47 weeks, with hundreds of Somerset children waiting far beyond that deadline. That is not sustainable and it isn't fair. Mainstream schools want to keep children local in our communities, but inclusion only works when it is properly funded. Without timely EHCPs, schools are being asked to do more without the resources to do it. This motion matters because it recognises this reality, that targeted investment now will prevent far greater costs later. I'm grateful that this isn't about party politics. It's about whether Somerset children receive the support they are legally entitled to at the point when they need it. So I'm grateful to councillors who are supporting this motion and supporting the children who cannot wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Susanna Hart.
Thank you, Chair. Just for the record, perhaps I should declare an interest as I do work in education. And indeed, I was lined up to second this motion. However, I'm thrilled that Bill has decided to second it instead. The reason I was to second is simply that I've been working in SEND education for 30 plus years and as such have significant experience of just how terribly difficult it can be for young people to access the support that they so desperately need. Indeed, anecdotally, a very experienced SENCO recently told me when I agree with parents that they should apply for an EHCP, I feel I have to warn them, be prepared to go to appeal. 2 or 3 years ago, when I sat on children's scrutiny at Somerset Council, we considered data around appeals made by desperate parents unable to access EHCPs for their children in a timely fashion. At that time, I remember saying that whilst I appreciated as a county Somerset were trying really hard to keep up with demand, what we were providing simply was not good enough, and that it was imperative we try harder and find a way to do better. I believe that this motion will begin to make inroads in that respect, and as such, I'm optimistically expecting a unanimous vote in favour of this motion, which at the very least will send a loud and clear message to all children, parents and guardians across the county that we at Somerset Council believe not only that every child matters, but that every child deserves to achieve and thrive. Thank you.
Heather Shearer.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all of the speakers, and thank you to Faye and to Bill for bringing this forward. I have only agreement with you, and I'm so pleased to see it coming forward in this way. We all can see what the increased demand, the increased complexity has brought into the system, and sadly even acknowledged in a governmental sense, even though there are reforms coming through, there's an acknowledgement that it will get worse before it gets better in terms of the levels of demand, while we're 2 or 3 years away from having a new reform process. So I just wanted to give some assurance that we have been, and those people who've been still on children's scrutiny will know some of this, but I wanted to give assurance that we are doing things and have been for some time, making arrangements to make sure that we deploy our resources as effectively as we can, but also to look at how we can get the establishment of our resources into a better place so that we have more people to actually do the job and get things done for children. We know there are systemic issues which make it harder, but that does not stop us from being as effective as we can be, and that's what we're taking really strides to get done. That's also within the context of a wider transformation programme that's working within children's and gathering some speed and pace. And that's also with the SEND reform work that we are, in a sense, obliged by the government to do, which is great. We need to be concentrating on how we can make things better straight away. So Yes, it will take us a while to get going, but we're getting going now, but it will take us a while to get through the backlog and the slowness, but I'm determined that that does not get slowed down. The other key part of what we're doing is to ensure that we have a really effective communication plan. One of the things in my inbox constantly are people who feel they've not been spoken to, not been listened to, having to tell their story a million times. You'll know what they're like if they're in your inboxes. We know and it's not good enough for parents and children. So we have got a plan to communicate, communicate effectively with our school population and our school leaders and also our families. So I just want to give you that thing. And I'm going to be really cheeky. I'm not the only one who's gone over my time, but just that I'm very, very pleased that this is not going to be a politicisation. We're not politicising children. This is something the entire council and all the people in Somerset want to work together to actually find a solution for. So I'm really delighted, and I too hope there'll be a unanimous voting for this motion.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, Caroline Ellis.
Just quickly, yeah, I really welcome this cross-party laser focus on ensuring that we're in a position to fulfil our statutory duties towards disabled children. It's really positive that this has come forward. Let's get cracking on it. I would just say that SEND parents, families of SEND children really are going to need our support in the battle in terms of the SEND reforms. Government's proposed SEND reforms involve a massive restriction of individual enforceable rights and rights to individual assessment and provision. And this is really what people are terrified about this, absolutely terrified. And we need to make common cause with SEND families, okay? We need to be pushing, we all want the resources that are needed to actually make the 2014 legal framework work. It's a really good legal framework. It has never, ever been resourced adequately, ever. So we need to make common cause, and please let's stand by SEND families in our communities as they battle against the elements of the reforms that are about restricting statutory protection.
Thank you. I haven't seen any more hands. Can I now go back to Faye before we take the vote?
Thank you, Chair. I didn't take up my full time, so I'll be brief again. But I think it's really heartening to hear everybody singing off the same hymn sheet for the people, for the families and children of Somerset. And I think the other common message that perhaps this vote can send is to government to show that we're doing our part. We're going to go at fast pace. And can they please do the same with their reforms, because our young people deserve better. And this chamber is united in asking them to get on and do their job, because we are going to do ours. Thanks.
Thank you. The motion has been put and seconded. Can I have a show of hands? All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, we move on now to item 13, which is the annual report of the leader of the council. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to present my annual report, which is on pages 323 to 332. So the report focuses on my portfolio responsibilities, which are for governance and communications, and include democratic oversight, corporate assurance, and how we engage with our residents, partners, and stakeholders. So the report sets out the work to strengthen governance, including the completion of the scrutiny review in September 2025 and the ongoing review of the Constitution, from which we heard from Councillor Henley earlier. Action to address 3 statutory recommendations from the External Auditor's Annual Report. My sincere thanks goes to our scrutiny committees and audit committee for their reviews and feedback, and to our executive leadership team for their commitment to good governance. As we all know, that managing financial pressures is a great responsibility, and this report sets out how the council has maintained its financial discipline during another challenging year, stabilising the financial position following reorganisation and responding to external audit findings, and maintaining a strong risk management and oversight arrangements to support our long-term sustainability. The report also sets out the development of a refreshed vision for Somerset, as we heard earlier, and this has been shaped through engagement with members, officers and stakeholders, and supported by our 3 missions of opportunity, connection and homes. And this provides a clearer framework to guide our decision making in the development of the corporate plan, which we will do at pace. The reports also set out the findings of the Corporate Peer Challenge Progress Review, November 25, which recognised progress in stabilising the finances and organisational complexity, which led to further action, including the creation of a improvement advisory board, which has already met twice to provide external challenge. We also sets out our communication and engagement, where there have been significant improvements in engagement, 111 consultations, 20,000 responses. We've gone over to e-newsletters. We've got 50,000 subscribers. There's a 71% engagement rate. I believe that's particularly good on a newsletter, but others will probably know better. I would think 100% is what you aim for. We are very much moving into delivery, transformation and partnership. This report sets out the shift into delivery through the Inspiring Innovation Programme, embedding new ways of working alongside strengthened partnerships, such as work through the Somerset Board, the Somerset Growth Partnership and the Wessex Partnership on devolution and progress on initiatives, including our partnership with the University Centre Somerset and technical excellent college status for both Bridgewater and Yeovil in clean energy and defence. None of this is possible without working as part of a team. I'd particularly like to thank each and every one of my lead members and associate lead members who support us in that mission. I'm constantly reminded of, we used to have 5 councils and 5 times as many people doing these roles. And there are times when we don't get things absolutely perfect because we are in a situation where we're setting up a new council, but we do need to recognise the challenges that are ahead and the responsibilities we have to our communities. And I'm pleased to see that we've got the council vision now proposed, supported by full council, so we can move on with the corporate plan as we go into our financial recovery phase and start delivering for the people of Somerset. Thank you very much, Chair.
Questions? Okay, there are none. Got away with that. Okay, moving on to item 14, which is the annual report of the Constitution of Governments. And we go to Ross Henley. Ross. Are you there, Ross?
Beg your pardon, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Somebody's passed me a chocolate biscuit. I do apologise. Most decadent and
point of order.
I half myself to lose concentration for a few seconds. I'd like to duly present the report, the annual report of the myself and Tim, my vice chair, the Constitution and Governance Committee, to full council today, 20th of May. But, Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the whole thing out, or is it presented? No, I'm picking up the vibes. You don't particularly want to hear my dulcet tones. I completely get that. That's fine. So can we move as printed?
Take it as read.
Okay. Tim, I call on Tim. You're due to second. Did you wish to add anything?
Nothing to add. I hope everybody's read it.
Okay, any questions? No. Okay, item 15, the annual report of the Human Resources Committee, and we go to Theo Butt-Phillips.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm happy to present and propose the annual report of the Human Resources Committee. I think the report does a good job of summarising the work that we've done. I would invite my vice chair to second it, but those eagle-eyed amongst you will know I haven't got one. So if anyone else would like to second it, they'd be very welcome to do so.
Yeah, so, okay, yes. Yes, David.
As I sit on the committee, I'm very happy to second it.
Fine. Any questions? Okay, item 16, the annual report of the Pensions Fund Committee, and we go to Simon Coles.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose the report as written. I'd like to thank the members of the committee for their hard work this last year and look forward to even more work in the coming year as we make changes to the pension arrangements for all our pensioners, old and new.
Okay, who's going to second that one? Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, but as I sit on the committee, I'm very happy to second it. Can I also just take the opportunity just to remind all members that from last Monday, you can join the local government pension scheme. It's a right that was taken away from us wrongly. many years ago, and I would encourage anybody to join. So please, I think Scott's put the form out. Yeah, happy to second, but remind everybody to rejoin the LGS.
Right, thank you, David. Any questions? No. Item 17, annual report of the Avon and Somerset Police and Crime Panel. And we go to Heather.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thanks again. I hope people have had an opportunity to have a look at the report. I've done this for 4 years now as Chair, and I think every time it's got a little bit better, our reports. I do hope people are reading it. I'd also like to say thank you before I say a little bit about what we've been up to at least 2 of our members of the Police and Crime Panel are in the room, or I think still in the room. We've got Brian over there, and also Brian Bolt, and also Martin Whale, but also there he is, that's over there as well. Dakota is always on the ball. And then there's also Federica and Nicola, who can't be with us today. So 5 of us represent out of the 17 on the Police and Crime Panel. The report is really trying to set out the kind of things we've done in the last year, and then also I'll give you a little bit about where we're going to go next. So in the report, you'll see quite a lot about how we've tried to hold the Police and Crime Commissioners' feet to the flames around outcomes from the police. So following HMIC FRS, which is the Constabulary and Fire Services Inspectorate, to make sure that when they've come up with recommendations that we track them through the years and they get better. They don't just stay there not getting done, or they're tick box. So quite a lot around performance, quite a lot around outcomes, positive outcomes as they're called. I know they're no longer clear up rates, Martin. I know you get cross about that, but there are positive outcomes for crime, which are notoriously low for a lot of crimes, but then also about value for money and understanding where the precept goes. So that's the kind of thing. We've looked at things like violent crime, we've looked at high street crime, we've looked at neighbourhood crime through the year, and just seeing how assured we can be from the Police and Crime Commissioner. Going forward, I just had actually the planning meeting this morning for the coming year. So coming forward on our Police and Crime Panel, over the next year, we'll be looking at things like the Neighbourhood Policing Guarantee, which is something that's come, the white paper, the bill that's coming forward from the police as well. Performance and outcomes, obviously. Violence against women and girls, which happens to be the Police and Crime Commissioner's one of her national portfolios. So we're quite interested in that, as you'd expect. And also the continuing thing we've been doing for the last 2 years and continue this year on trying to increase the confidence the public have in the police and the engagement. Because I don't know what your inboxes are like or what your parish councils say, but most people say that people don't actually have that much faith in the police. Forgive me if we have police officers in the room. It's not any kind of criticism on the officers. It's just the overall feeling about policing in the country. So increasing confidence is important. The other thing, just I think I've got a couple more seconds left, is of course there has been a major change in policing, or in the way police is governed, which means they've only got 2 more years where the Police and Crime Panel and the Police and Crime Commissioners exist. And that will then be changed into a different type of police board, an oversight board, quite closely aligned in the places where they have them to strategic mayoral authorities. So people like our leaders now will actually be doing that kind of oversight. It's still I think it's still getting worked out. Like a lot of government changes of policy, they're not always full of detail. So the next 2 years, we'll be trying to support the Police and Crime Commissioner to lay the foundations for whatever comes next. So that's I've really whipped through. So that's the kind of things we've been doing. What the report is also quite good at, I think. I didn't write it, but I ever saw it. But 50% of or thereabouts, of our 17 panel members have contributed something in the back of the report about what it feels like and what they've done and what they were interested in doing while they've been on the Police and Crime Panel. And it just gives you a real range of the different interests that people have. 14 of the 17 come from local authorities and 3 are completely independent recruited people. So they come with different views and feelings. So I just commend you to have a read of it. It's, and you get millions of reports to read, but it is an interesting view from a different kind of perspective. And I would say that's probably all I wanted to say about it. But of course, if you've got questions, I'm always happy to take questions now or later. That's really no problem. You can always get hold of me. But I just commend the work and thank the panel members. And also, I would like to vicariously from here thank the Police and Crime Commissioner and her officers for working in a very good spirit of collaboration and letting us throw stones at it from time to time and ask us some tough questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we have someone to second that one as well, please? Plenty of hands. Martin was first. Sorry, Jill. Okay, any questions? No. Okay. Moving on to item 18, which is the annual report of the Standards Committee. And we go to John Bailey.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your re-election to the peerage. And thank you to members who've stayed here for the cream to rise to the top as well. You've had a look at the report. You've seen it all before. I don't intend to go through it. It's on page 669 to 675. And I'd just like to highlight one point, which is that the committee has been involved in a consultation with the government about the future legislation on this area and will continue to do so. And also, I'd finally like to thank the members of the Standards Committee, the co-opted members for their hard work in providing constructive support and critical support, and also the council officers for their support in the work of the committee. I haven't got a seconder, but Councillor Smedley might be prepared to second it.
Okay, could someone second?
Thank you, Martin.
Yep, okay.
And I'll just take any questions now or later.
No, going too well. Okay, we move on to item 18, which is the report of the Chief Executive. Duncan.
Got no paperwork, Chair.
God, you caught. That was it. Right, okay, yes, Diogo.
I will end the silent streak, Chairman. So, yeah, all really good. The only point I want to raise and question really is when it comes to 9 financial implications. We can see that the cost of the section 151 officer, the extension is £291,000, which is an additional funding requirement of 89,000. That's just for 1 year. And it says this will be funded from the council's capitalisation direction, which I'm sure we all know the capitalisation direction is essentially allowing us to sell assets to pay for day-to-day spend. So we're selling assets to pay for our section 151 officer. I'm just making sure that that is what that is intended to do and to fund these extension of job contracts. And also just noting it's a very, very hefty sum. And I'm wondering what progress is being made into employing a permanent finance officer again, because we talked about this council being in a period of stability, but there's clearly no stability when we're still without a permanent finance officer costing us twice as much as the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the question. We are working quite hard within the market. We were speaking to consultants just yesterday. It is a really tough market right now. There's been a lot of people locked up in their existing roles by the local government reorganisation process, which is running across a large part of the country. So everyone is struggling. The people who've recruited most recently seem to have been recruiting either from people directly in their locality or actually from within. So I know a couple of local councils in the southwest have actually recruited 151 officers recently. Another council has just put an advert out, I think it was today, for a 151 officer. So we are keeping a very active view on the market. We will be looking to see what we can try and do if we can do anything quicker than the timeline we've laid out. Though obviously at some point we'll have to take a view if opportunities did arise about the timeliness of that in proximity to the budget, because we've got to get the budget set fairly. So we are working on that, and I won't pick up Councillor Rodriguez about how much Prime Minister actually earns, but I'm happy to have that debate outside of the meeting, Chair, if you wish.
Okay, is there any more questions? No. Okay, we'll move on to item 18, which is summary of the key decisions taken since the last full council meeting, and invite any questions. No. Is there anything, do you want to make any comments, Bill, or any of the others?
No, I was just very disturbed by Councillor Coles crossing the floor.
He's obviously changed his mind.
And he is so welcome back. Maybe he's been learning from Councillor Hendry. I don't know.
Right,
no, nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Right, we move on then to item 19, which is questions to councillors to the executive. Obviously, this is to people that are in the room. I've already spoken to Adam Boyden, who is not here, and he will get a written answer sent to him. Starting off with Diego, your question.
Sorry, Chair, we've ran through this agenda. I've just got to go to the right page, sorry.
Keep up.
Thank you, Chair. I've been given permission by a parent to share the experience of a 19-year-old son. And she says to me, I have a son who is 19 with a EHCP. He was failed by his school and the local authority. He couldn't return to his school due to numerous reasons, and 3 times I applied for him to change schools, and 3 times he was rejected and told the school can meet his needs, even though he wasn't even attending the school. He was home educated by things I put in place, and in years 11, he was finally given online learning, which by then was too late. He completed his GCSEs, although the school had failed to supply him with all the relevant resources he needed to pass, so he didn't pass any GCSEs. This is a child who is extremely academic and predicted high grades in his GCSEs. Post-16, he was given an EOTAS plan with online learning for maths and English. End of last year, 2025, I had a meeting with Somerset Council about him retaking his GCSEs. They said they would put it all in place and it would be sorted. Fast forward to May 2026, after numerous emails and phone calls, which were not answered, I have had to make sure he actually has his GCSEs in place. They have palmed it off to say, it was his online learning company that needed to sort out when and where his GCSEs will be. I have had to ring them daily to get this sorted, and on Tuesday of this week had answers that his first exam will be this Thursday, so giving him just 2 days notice. My son has autism and OCD. His EHCP clearly states his needs, and they have been completely failed by him. If it hadn't been for me, he would not be taking his exams. I'm absolutely mentally exhausted from this fight with them. So my question, Chairman, is sadly this doesn't appear to be an isolated case. In response to a previous question I asked, we know that the Council confirmed that only 9% of post-16 phase transfer EHCP reviews for the 25-26 year were completed in time, with over 1,400 outstanding as of 30th of April. And that's 1,422 young people left in limbo at a critical stage in their education. So could the lead member explain what immediate action will be taken to support this individual in this example, and what additional urgent steps can be taken to prevent this council from failing more young people and families in a similar way?
Heather Shearer.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just get my right glasses on here. Thank you so much. And if I could just start simply by saying, I'm sure you'll understand, I'm not going to respond to a specific question, obviously, and I don't think you're asking me to, about individual children at this meeting. So I'm going to provide an answer that's based on the themes that your question raises. If the parent you refer to, and you've mentioned, if they want to speak to me individually, of course, I'm happy to do so. So please do let them know that's the case. They can get in touch with me directly. I think I'll give a little bit of background in terms of, if I could, the EOTAS, or education otherwise than at school exams. For those children and young people who are receiving education otherwise than at school, they are not on the roll of a school, and therefore oversight sits with the local authority. This includes the responsibility for exam arrangements. We have experienced challenges in securing educational settings to enter external students for exams. There have also been challenges in relation to exam arrangements, including securing invigilators, access requirements, and securing alternative venues. While arrangements have been put in place for all our young people on EOTAS, as the acronym goes, we recognise that young people would have benefited from receiving exam details at an earlier point. Moving forward, we have planning meetings in place to review the processes and the educational settings involved to ensure more robust and timely processes for the next academic year. So it's already in place. Post-16 phase transfers, you also mentioned. Young people are identified as part of the post-16 phase transfer group if they are in national curriculum year 13 and above. This does not necessarily mean that all students are actively transitioning. Rather, we take an approach to ensure oversight of those who may potentially move on. Often, post-16 students in FE colleges do not know if they would like to continue at their setting or prefer an alternative pathway until later in the year. To support this, we are holding pathway panels with education settings to help identify appropriate post-16 pathways and to support transition points. In addition, staff within the virtual school are offering advice for young people who are at risk of becoming NEET, that's not in education, employment or training, or who are already NEET, not in education, employment or training, working closely with the wider community support services. We recognise there have been delays in completing EHC annual review processes for post-16 students, as we referred to earlier, and the impact this has on confirming future placements in a timely way. These reviews are being prioritised and additional resources are put in place to support the progression of these reviews and confirmation of placement. So these are things that are already in place and improving the situation. Thank you, Chair.
Dawn Denton.
Thank you. At a time when Somerset Council has received 24.7 million in government funding to improve local bus services up to 2030, including 13.1 in revenue funding specifically intended to support day-to-day operations and improve reliability and affordability for passengers, I'm concerned by the response given to the Somerset Bus Partnership regarding requests to improve services affecting Frome and surrounding communities. The Council's response states that reinstating Saturday service on the 162 and the 184 routes is not considered viable because weekday patronage levels are currently low. However, passengers and stakeholders consistently point out that these services have already been significantly reduced over the past decade, from regular Monday to Saturday services to limited weekday only provision with inconvenient timings. It is therefore unsurprising that passenger numbers have declined when services no longer operate at the times people need them. So could the lead member therefore please explain how the council intends to grow rural bus patronage and reduce transport isolation if it continues to use low passenger numbers on already reduced and unattractive services as justification for refusing the investment? And will the council commit to piloting improved Saturday services on the 162 and the 184 using the government funding specifically allocated for improving local bus provision so that these routes can be properly assessed on the basis of a usable service rather than a residual one? Thank you.
Richard Wilkins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. You're quite right, it's very difficult in especially the more rural areas. So when investing in public bus services, we need to ensure that we do consider value for money, and with limited financial resources, investment in services has to be targeted where routes are most viable and have a chance of becoming sustainable in the future. Traditional bus services are not always the most viable option, and alternative solutions such as demand responsive transport, DRT, provide more isolated communities with opportunities to travel. Whilst the response to the Somerset Bus Partnership advised that subsidising Saturday services with low anticipated numbers is not viable, we did confirm that we would continue to monitor patronage on the 184 and would review this service again for the September timetable change, but could not make any promises. Unfortunately, the patronage on the 162 during the week is very low, and we do not believe that a Saturday service on this route would be value for money.
Thank you. Philip Hammer's not here, so we move on to Barry Clark.
Thank you, Chair. In Mendip Central and East, we have planning enforcement issues and delays in Wanstead, Falkland, Mells, Lyon Mendip, Buckland Inham, Witham Friary, Colford, and one more has been added today, Stoke St Michael. That is more than half of the parishes in that division. I'm advised by a senior officer that under-resourcing and an overstretched system will only add to further delays if we wish to follow up these problems or add new ones. The only advice received is not to send in any more enforcement issues as they will not get dealt with. That is a worry, as I and the parishioners affected can only work with the system that Somerset Council provides. If the system is not fit for purpose currently, what action is being taken to repair it, and when will it be ready? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Bill Revens will take that on behalf of Mike Rigby.
Thank you for the question, Barry, and apologies from Councillor Mike Rigby, who's representing us at the UK Real Estate Forum and Infrastructure. That's Leeds, and hopefully bring in lots of investment into Somerset. Anyway, There is a significant backlog in live enforcement cases within Somerset and within the East area. There have been many challenges in replacing the previously 2 permanent members of staff who left the service post-unitary. The council has already been dedicating agency staff to this area, and following recent recruitment, 3 additional permanent members of staff have joined the service. It is acknowledged that the enforcement team is not of sufficient size to accommodate the current scale of complaints being raised, and a case is being progressed for further investment to look to expand the team to ensure it can respond as it should to breaches of planning control, and includes an agency contingency to reduce the backlog. So new enforcement breaches are still being accepted, though the report of breach of planning form on the council's website is the way to report them. The team are not accepting new breaches of planning controls direct into the inbox. This delays the process of setting them up and does not provide a full detail a completed form does. So please can you signpost your parishes in that direction. This will increase the efficiency of setting up new cases and release limited capacity to enable them to investigate and action any of the backlog. So please use the online form, not the inbox. Yesterday, in fact, we were briefed by planning officers on a proposal to increase the team, which is business cases being drawn up to, with the aim of funding this within the service budget, acknowledging that changes will come from the Planning and Infrastructure Act, which should be able to increase the income of the service. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Boyd is not here, so we go to Mark Healy.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations to you and the Vice Chairman. I know you work hard, because we've spoken about it, so well done. And I'm really pleased, Chairman, that you've let me be the last man on. So you've saved the best till last. Marvellous, isn't it? Anyway, to continue, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've already presented in specific details of this case to the Executive, so I will not repeat myself today. Instead, I want to address the wider systemic failure of service that is destroying public confidence in Somerset Council. Our residents are facing a total lack of response and urgency. I recently shared the story of Rachel and Andrew Hancock, who faced a ridiculous 15-week backlog just to update their council tax address. You can buy a house quicker than the council can update a digital record. Worse still is the culture they encountered. When querying a parallel delay in their planning application, they were told by the call centre that if they didn't like it, they should log a complaint. When did we become an authority that tells frustrated taxpayers to get to the back of another queue? This paralysis isn't isolated. Local land agents and developers are facing bankruptcy because our planning department is taking up to 2 years to process applications. These are the people that want to build much needed homes and drive our local economy, yet they're being financially ruined by our inertia. We cannot keep hiding behind the vocabulary of restructures and legacy systems. The public expect basic competence. They want the phones answered and they want emails returned. I asked the leadership today, 1, what immediate action is being taken to eradicate this communication backlog? And 2, when will this authority issue a clear public statement to the residents and developers of Somerset outlining exactly what these delays will end? The public's patience is exhausted. It's time to stop making excuses and start delivering the service, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. The question I think you've just put is not the question that was written on the paper. So obviously you can be given a written answer back of that. But I would go to...
Chair, that wasn't the question as submitted, so we don't have a prepared answer for that. If you'd like to send us the text, we'll ensure you get a written answer.
Okay. Okay, Liz, would you like to respond to the question that was...
Just to say that I did respond at Executive earlier this month. I was worried that I'd missed an email from you, Councillor Healy, so I checked my emails this morning. Last time I heard from you was June 2023. You are very welcome to email me at any time. I'm sure the same applies to Councillor Rigby. It is not just for one political party to email to each other and to contact lead members. We are here for everyone in Somerset. It's absolutely nothing to do with politics and everything about service. I certainly agree with you on that point. Thank you.
Thank you. I've not been advised of any urgent questions that can't be put towards before the next executive meeting, which is on the 3rd of June. And just to remind councillors, the deadline for questions is 5 p.m. on the 28th of May. I'm very pleased to say
Chair,
not.
can I congratulate you on being 1 hour and 45 minutes ahead of schedule?
I was. I'd hate to correct you. It should have been 6:15, so it's 2 hours 15 minutes. But I would hate to, draw that attention. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and have a safe journey home. Thank you.